Anthony Dunn, and today I wanted to talk about the demand on our food banks with the current increase in fuel prices. So that seems to be a topic I've spoken a lot about in the last week or two, the fuel prices. So this is a slight variation on that. So I was just reading an article about the increase in demand on Taranaki food banks, especially in the north. So some Taranaki food banks have seen an increase of around about 60% on their regular week, um, especially in New Plymouth. Um, so one food bank in New Plymouth, the Community Food Bank, they were hit the new year absolutely flat out, and it hasn't stopped since. New Plymouth isn't the only one dealing with a fuel cost crisis rush. Food banks across Taranaki are seeing a surge of clients through their doors needing donations of food they can no longer afford. New Plymouth's food bank distributed 526 food parcels in March alone, averaging around about 175 a week, 60% more than their weekly average last year. So let's talk about that a little. With most households having more than one car in their driveway, um, if parents are the ones who own the cars, it's usually because they have to go to work. In some cases, now getting to and from work, even at the best of times, is a costly exercise, and sometimes you feel like you're just paying for your petrol rather than anything else, and that's all you're working for. Um, with fuel prices being up around the 350 mark per litre, um, most families are feeling the sting. If you have a 42-litre fuel tank, you're probably looking at roughly about $120 to go from, or $140 to go from E all the way up to full. And for some families, if you got two cars, there's $300 alone. You know, when you incorporate rental, mortgage, your food, utilities, all of that, insurances, if you have insurance, then it's going to be a huge sting on your pockets. So the government, in light of these fuel increases, introduced a $373 million relief package available to approximately 143,000 low to middle class income working families, giving them an extra $50 a week. Now, while that $50 may be a relief to some, for most Kiwi whānau, it's probably just a drop in the bucket, really, isn't it? Um, and I'd love to see MPs survive on an extra $50 a week, especially when those guys basically fall under the higher income tax bracket. And the in-work tax credit scheme is set to last for 1 year. Stratford Food Bank said it was also hearing stories of the knock-on effects of expensive fuel. So another article I read earlier on this week was about a poor mother of three who had some opportunistic thieves go and drill a hole in the base of her fuel tank to take away all her fuel. Now, not only did she find that she couldn't start her car, she now has the added expense of trying to have her fuel tank repaired or getting a new fuel tank in some cases, and that's a burden that no struggling mother of three should have to go through. So I suppose my biggest message is I know times are tough, everyone is struggling. Um, if we could not just think of ourselves and think of the effects that our actions have on others, um, especially for those who are feeling a little more opportunistic and decide that because they can't afford fuel, they're going to go and siphon fuel from people's cars, um, do what these opportunistic people did and um, damage a mother of three's car just to get the fuel out of her tank. You know, think about the effect that that's going to have. You never know whose car you are tapping into to get this stuff and the effects it's going to have on that whānau. Um, so Debbie Eden, who runs the food bank in Stratford, also said that in their food drive, which they had in December, people donated, but they got a lot less because everybody is struggling. In the past, they have got in December or what they'd got in December would perhaps last until June, but this year they're already having to buy stuff. Um, as I said in my previous video, the government had scaled back on the funding that they were giving to food banks, especially during COVID and stuff like that. And yeah, now food banks are struggling to even afford the stuff that they're getting in to fill their shelves to give out to whānau who are struggling themselves. Um, I think in my last video I sort of said the flow-on effects of the high diesel costs, which would be transport costs for goods and services, and how those costs end up getting passed on to the consumer. In other words, you and I. When we go to our supermarket, we're probably finding that a lot of the stuff that would have probably cost around about $1 a year ago is probably costing almost double that now. And some of us are finding that you're only getting about half the amount you would have gotten in your groceries as you did last year for the same amount of money. And yeah, you know, right now a lot of families aren't getting by on the amount that they used to, and sometimes it feels like you're having to steal from Peter to pay Paul just so you can make ends meet and feed your whānau. And other bills end up getting put behind, and some people are getting in trouble for it, and it's really sad to see. So yeah, you know, I understand people are doing it tough. Um, Even those of us who are working, some of us are in households where both parents are working and are still struggling ourselves. So yeah, I feel for you. I know the people I work alongside, and even those in other organisations like the one I work in, um, we also feel for you, and some of us are doing it just as hard as you are. Um, so finally, again, whānau, be kind to one another. Think of others and how they may be struggling. Just know that you are not the only one, and there is support out there for you. And please don't get upset at the food banks because they're not allowed to give you another food parcel or whatever because you might have only had one a month ago. Um, they're feeling the pinch just like you are, and there's only so much they can hand out to whānau. And I know it sucks, and it's just a sad fact of the reality we are living in right now. Um, Please, if you have any suggestions for a topic for me to do a video on, please shoot me an email at taranakihsp gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Um, Again, if you are willing to sit down and have a cordial with me and talk about your health journey, send me a slight snippet of your story, and I will try and get in contact with you ASAP, and we can have a more in-depth cordial before we have an interview. If there's anything that you don't want in that cordial, then I will do my best not to mention it. Also, if you do like the content that I am putting out, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those things really help and they boost the algorithm. Um, I'm hoping to grow the community here. And yeah, you know, again, be safe. I know the weather's absolutely gross out there today. Uh, as we speak, it's the 12th of April, and we're going through that cyclone right now, and the weather is absolutely horrible outside. Um, but yeah, again, like, comment, share, and subscribe. That gets this out there to more people, and hopefully, we can grow our community. Thank you again for joining me. This will probably be video 2 for the weekend, which is not what I originally planned to do, but hey, gives me something to do on a Sunday in this gross weather. Anyhow, be safe, be kind, and I'll hopefully see you all again next week. Good night.